What I might do is just put a nice Star Trek picture in your place and see how it works.
Yeah, you know, someone with my kind of good looks and charm.
Yeah. It would work. So yeah, welcome back. Rob's back. Yes.
I'm here.
It's weird. It's like I speak to you near enough every day anyway, but as far as podcast people go, you've been gone for like a year and 2 months.
Yeah, I have disappeared down a wormhole to theme it to today's show.
But the wonderful, air quotes, I can do that because I'm on video. Section 31 has brought you back out of whatever gamma quadrant or whatever quadrant you've been hiding in.
Well, it wouldn't be right to have a new Star Trek without me bashing it.
Kind of wouldn't. And it's like, So Section 31, Paramount Plus movie, not a cinema film. Originally was going to be a pilot episode for a Section 31 TV show.
Mm-hmm.
Based on the Section 31 that was in Discovery, or based on the Deep Space Nine's 31, or both, or neither?
Well, based around the character of obviously Philippa Giorgio, and the Discovery Section 31, which obviously is the founding group that leads to what we see in Deep Space Nine.
The super secret group that people just think, is that a real group? Is it known? Is it like an underground movement? Is it just legend? No, it's fine. They got headquarters and everything in this new Section 31. Everybody seems to know who everybody is. So that was a little bit odd. But once Michelle Yeoh won her Oscar for Everything Everywhere All at Once, which she was very, very good in, they kind of thought, let's capitalize on it and make it a movie instead of a TV show. And I'm sure a lot of it was, are we going to be able to keep her for the price that she'll probably get now, because she's now an Academy Award winner. So I'm sure it was like a mixture of both of those things. There's the new little thing that's terrorizing me, by the way, if you can see video. The cat. Yeah. I had a choice, either let it in the room or leave it outside the room, and it would just meow constantly and drive me insane. So I'm gambling and letting it in the room. But yeah, so we get it as a movie. It's a 95-minute movie. To me, that was one of the good things about it. It was only 95 minutes. I don't know if you saw lots of people who were talking about it before we'd actually been able to see it, i.e. before it dropped on Paramount Plus. But they were mad at it. They were like, this is terrible. This is the worst thing I've ever seen. And we see this for like every single movie and TV show that comes out, unless you're Deadpool v Wolverine. In which case, like, yeah, that's great, which it is. So we're kind of used to people bashing stuff. But what was your take on, oh my God, this is terrible? Did you see any of that?
I think before it had even been released, on Rotten Tomatoes, it had a 19% rating. So I thought, okay, where's this coming from? Is this just kind of industry insiders who had kind of prior access to it, or is it people just thinking it's going to be rubbish? So I'll leave my review now. And
there's too much of that nowadays. People go, there's a film coming out in 5 years. That's going to suck. Can't wait to see that fail. You're like, why? I've never... I say that on every single episode I do. I'll never understand that logic. If you don't want to watch it, if you don't like Star Trek, it's fine. Don't watch it. But don't feel the need to go on and try and tell everybody else who is looking forward to it, oh, you're an idiot, you're wrong, it's going to suck. So it could have been a lot of that. There might have been... I don't know, is this the rival to Star Trek, Star Wars, even though they're very different shows? Is there a rival to Star Trek, or is it generally just like, we like Star Trek, we hate Star Trek type rivalry?
I think in sci-fi circles, there's always been that Star Trek v Star Wars. You always usually come down on one side or the other. I was always Star Trek.
I'm both. Yeah, I'm both. Because they're very different. For me, I mean, obviously there's fantastical elements in Star Trek, i.e. technology that we don't have yet. But you go back to like Next Gen and stuff, they're using iPads. They're using mobile phones, which are the tricorders. So the Star Trek is, to me, more reality-based than Star Wars. Really is. So they're very different shows. But yeah, like you said, there does seem to be a which one do you prefer? I like both. Depends what mood I'm in.
Yeah, and I think what we've seen more recently with Star Trek is um, CBS and Paramount kind of pushing to kind of move it more in a Star Wars direction, because they've seen kind of the success Disney's had on kind of making lots of money with the Star Wars franchise, and thinking we want a bit of that.
But I mean, money-wise, I think Disney have made a reasonable amount. Certainly with The Force Awakens, that made like 1 something billion, or that made a fortune, did that film. The Last Jedi critically had the crap kicked out of it, still to this day does. Rise of Skywalker got even more of a kicking. So I think CBS need to go, maybe let's not try and turn Star Trek into we've already got Star Wars. It's the same with Marvel and DC, though, I suppose, isn't it? DC, like, we want to be Marvel. No, you want Marvel money. Which, that's fair. And CBS obviously want Star Wars money. But you look at most of the Star Wars TV shows, they're not exactly adored. There's a couple that are enjoyed, but Acolyte, people hated. Skeleton Crew, I thought was fun. I know you were partway through watching that. I don't know if you finished it or not.
Not yet. About halfway through. I'm still enjoying that.
It's fun. Overall, it's a good show. It's consistent with the episodes you've seen. The later ones are just as good. Mandalorian season 3, people didn't like that. I quite did. Andor's really good. Mandalorian 1 and 2 is good. Star Trek on TV, how do you think that's done post like Enterprise and stuff, these newer ones?
Well, we had kind of the big kind of comeback with Discovery, and I think the issues with that were quite clear in the first season, where the new writers, directors, and all that kind of part of the casting crew really decided they wanted to just change too much about what Star Trek was, especially kind of what was already canon and kind of there beforehand. I know we've had that in the past, because if you only have to look at the jump from the original series to the Next Generation to say, hang on a minute, the Klingons don't look like Scousers anymore. They now have a pasty on the head, but that was done because the money just wasn't there for the original series to kind of make these changes to characters, so you understand that one. But when they're just changing it just to change it, just to be different, you're always going to make enemies, and that's what they did. They alienated the Star Trek fans in season 1 of Discovery, then kind of backtracked partly on season 2 by changing elements of the Klingons again, and then by the time Discovery ended, they'd just thrown in the towel and Klingons were Klingons again. But I think they've changed it so much that even with the animated Lower Decks, when Lower Decks ended their show, they wrote into it that everything we've seen in Discovery was actually taking place in an alternate timeline and was no longer in the prime timeline. So it was edited out of existence by one of the new Star Trek shows.
So just to sort of catch me up, prime timeline is Picard, Kirk, etc. And then the Kelvin one is the timeline for the J.J. Abrams rebooted movies.
Yes, that's right.
Right, okay. Yay, I have learned something.
And then Discovery is somewhere else. So that'll be in the Discovery timeline now.
See, I don't like all that crap. It's like, I feel the same. That's why I felt like with Marvel a lot of the time, because it's like, I don't want the spreadsheet just to... It's hard enough keeping up with when the Walking Dead spin-offs are set, to be honest. And I struggle with that. I usually have to Google it and go, when is Daryl Dixon set type thing. And that's less complicated than the Star Trek one, which is
Oh,
less
yeah.
complicated than the Marvel one. So I don't want to do homework when I watch my TV shows.
Not at all.
I just want to watch it. And so I went into Section 31. I'd seen everybody moaning and groaning about it. I'm like, well, and you're the same as me. You're like, okay, I get what everybody's saying about it, but I'm going to make my own mind up. I'm going to watch it
Yep.
because I quite like the brand of Star Trek. Let's see what they've done with it. And so I went into Section 31 going, right, okay, it's 95 minutes. It's not going to take that much out of my day. 95 minutes, obviously. And I was going to do a review and all this sort of stuff going, do you know what? It's actually quite good and blah, 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 blah. And I think after about 5 minutes in, I'm like, yeah, I kind of see where everybody's complaining, to be honest. I thought the opening scenes, and I'm not going to go full spoilers because, to be honest, I can't remember that much about what happened in the film.
I don't know. I think there should be some kind of warning on the front of this. Says,
yeah, we're going to talk about things that
we are
happen,
going to be talking.
Oh, yeah. But we're not going to like launch into it. And it ends like this. We'll gradually get you there. And I thought it opens with these scenes that are set on the Terran Empire, which looks like a very dusty, warm, hot, gnarly place that you don't really want to go for a holiday. And those scenes looked amazing. And I'm like,
they did.
This is quite good. I'm quite into this. I was into the scene. I thought it looked amazing. Like, this looks really, really cinematic. And then once it got off the Terran Empire, I'm like, oh yeah, now I see why the internet's kind of mad. And then periodically it would go back to scenes on the Terran Empire as like flashback type things. And then it was good again. So I don't know, it felt like there was two different directors. One did the Terran Empire and then one did all the other stuff. It was odd.
It was, and to me, the Terran Empire mirror universe side of things, that was saving grace. I thought, well, if nothing else, that was really good. Until I started looking at it again and going, however, knowing the mirror universe as Star Trek fans do, the mirror universe is obviously that alternate side where Starfleet, or what is known as the Terran Empire, are the bad guys. They kind of rule with an iron fist. They go and enslave everybody, Klingons, Romulans, whoever it may be. They're kind of under the boot of the Terran Empire.
Yeah.
Yet we open up with this fantastic looking scene where the then ruler of the empire has gone, you know what? I don't want to be a dictator anymore. I'm obviously gonna, pass this power on to somebody else. Who shall I choose? I don't know. Let's run a Hunger Games.
Yeah, but Hunger Games also made me think of Battle Royale. If you've never seen Battle Royale, the film that originally, I think, inspired the Hunger Games. But yeah, let's have a fight to the death. And I didn't know that was happening. Like, oh God, she's like poisoned all her family and stuff. This is quite brutal. What? I'm into this. I like this new Star Trek because I went into it and I've seen the pilot episode of Discovery season 1, and that's it. I've seen maybe 5 or 6 episodes of Strange New Worlds. I've seen no Lower Decks. So I was quite curious about how accessible Section 31 was to me, not having caught up with every bit of Star Trek like you have and a lot of Star Trek fans have. I didn't struggle with the accessibility. I don't think you necessarily need to have seen absolutely everything. I'm sure it helps, but I wasn't confused.
Where we leave Giorgio in Discovery is we've met the Guardian of Forever, if you remember the good old Edith Keeler episode in the original series. The big portal is back, and we last see Giorgio being sent through the Guardian of Forever to a past time, which is supposed to be a time where the mirror universe more closely aligns with the prime universe. So in essence, it should give her the opportunity, if she wants to make a change and not become the Philippa Giorgio she was in Discovery.
Yeah. So in Discovery, was she like the crazed maniac, or was she like a good character?
No, she was the rule with an iron fist, leader of the Terran Empire. You know, everybody bow before me type.
All right, okay, because she played that well.
Yeah.
Oh, I like that character. But I mean, she's an Oscar winner, and I've seen her in a few bits and pieces. I watched her last night in Wicked, and I didn't think she was amazing in Section 31, her acting. So I don't know what went wrong, because I know she could act, because I've seen her in a lot of stuff over the years. But I wasn't really into the character. Maybe that's because I wasn't familiar with the character from having seen Discovery and stuff. So it's possibly that. I just wasn't quite used to
saying that there is a lot of criticism if you read the online reviews on sites such as IMDb. They really think she got the Section 31 script, read it, and thought, "What a load of," and just kind of phoned it in.
Phoned it in, yeah. Which, because she is capable of really good acting, but it just didn't. I didn't see it in Section 31. But she wasn't the most annoying character in Section 31.
Oh, not by a long shot.
And it's like there's a couple of contenders for that one. There was the Cockney mercenary with the black suit, and I'm like, oh god, he's going to annoy me. But no, he didn't annoy me the most. It was the Irish-speaking Vulcan. Fuzz. Yeah, I had to look up some of the names the other day. I'm like, who? Well, and I looked up and I've forgotten the actor's name who played Fuzz, but he's from South Africa, so he's a South African actor playing an Irish Vulcan. It's one hell of a stretch. But have we had Vulcans before with that strong accents and that much characteristics? I think characteristics is probably the word I'd use. But I know we've had stuff like when Spock starts to cry and gets all emotional and stuff because his human side kicks in. This is to a new level with Fuzz.
Hormone imbalances due to the Pomfar, which I know when we see Fuzz first, and we've got like kind of maniacal laughing and emotion. That there's talk from Giorgio that it's some Vulcan driven mad by the Pomfar.
Yeah.
But in the just from a Section 31 point of view, to have a emotional Vulcan, that doesn't really fly under the radar, does it?
Doesn't. Whereas you could literally be in a bar once, and Fuzz would be in there talking or just being Fuzz, and you would remember him. You'd go home and tell people, "Well, I saw this person. Yeah. Oh, I saw him. He's apparently." So yeah, he's not the best undercover secret agent that you would want in Section 31. But yeah, he was an annoying man. And clearly, I'm not going to blame the actor, because at the end of the day, the director's the one and the studio are the ones that go, yes, that's perfect. We don't need to redo that. So that's obviously the way they said, we want this character played, but very odd and annoying.
It was so hyper stereotypical Irish that I half expected at some point him to whip out his pot of gold.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, if he just started dancing to Michael Flatley thing, I'd be like, I'm not surprised. I'm not. Yeah. It did seem to be somebody said, right, we want you to be Irish. Oh, I don't really know what Irish is. Google it. Go to Wikipedia and see what Irish means. And they've just taken all these, which I'm surprised the internet hasn't gone mad at that. There's, South African guy playing an Irish person, stereotypically just, crazy.
Yeah, I don't know what Irish is. Well, remember that Lucky Charm advert? Oh, exactly. Yes, find me Lucky Charms.
All you've got to do is say top of the morning to everybody you meet, drink Guinness and wear green. That's the sort of stupidity that whoever went, this is what Irish is. But yeah, he was very, very annoying. And I think he wins. He wins the award for, oh my God, please don't ever let me see that character again. And is this the first appearance of Fuzz, or had we seen him before?
Oh yeah, that's the first appearance.
Hopefully the last.
Well, hopefully. But to go back onto the point of, he hardly flies under the radar for a Section 31 operative. Well, I don't think most of the team did either, because then we have this big guy with all kinds of tech enhancements, described as having tech dysmorphia.
Yeah.
And like again, you turn up in a bar and you're standing next to him, you're not going to forget him. Again, he obviously stands out. And I really didn't understand Section 31's reasoning behind having him on the team. If you
No.
wanted somebody who had kind of gadgets galore, was good with computing, that kind of stuff, you would go out and get yourself, you'd hire Law, or,
Yes, you
you
would.
know,
Yeah.
you'd hire an android, or a synthetic.
Yeah, you wouldn't. Yeah, you wouldn't sort of hire this Cockney Hulk.
No, like, oh, I know that guy. And could you just go and strap a few £100 worth of metal onto yourself as well?
It felt like the beginning of the the film, because then it became a film. That they'd seen like the 1960s Mission Impossible, because it felt very much like, we have got to do this mission. Let's assemble a team. And you're like, I've seen this sort of thing so much before in like Mission
Ocean's
Impossible.
11.
Ocean's 11, yeah, but nowhere near as well done as Ocean's 11. And you and I are not the sort of people to jump on and just, trash a program or whatever. But yeah, I was.
Well, I
It was
think
not good.
that whole kind of belief of how it was being portrayed and shot, that's what Star Trek were looking for, or Paramount / CBS, because even on StarTrek.com's article on Meet the Section 31 crew, they're introduced as, for example, Fuzz, the maniac, Mel, the lover, Zeph, the machine, Quasi, the enigma. You know what I mean? Giving them the titles of kind of what they are, just adds to that whole, we're doing what, we're doing badly one of these heist movies.
Yep. It felt a little bit like you've described him as the maniac, the lover, and all that sort of stuff. And are they trying to market this to like the next generation of Star Trek fans? So like 12-year-olds? But no, because there was loads of swearing in this show as well. And it's like, okay, so you're marketing it to adults. You're not gonna. Have we seen any good reviews of this?
I've seen a couple on IMDb, and there's always going to be a couple who kind of booked a trend saying it was the best Star Trek they've ever seen. Obviously, they haven't seen any of the Star Trek, but
exactly. Yeah, I saw the worst episode of Lower Decks and an episode from season 1 of Next Generation.
So yeah, there are a minority few, but the majority is 1 star, would give it 0 if possible.
Normally it's me or you that are jumping to the defense of TV shows and films going, do you know what? It wasn't that bad. Get a grip. It's just a film. But yeah, I don't know. Star Trek's just... It's a weird franchise that the CBS just can't work out. And then you could probably do it with a single phone call. They're like, oh, what do we do with Star Trek? And you're like, I know what to do. Why are you not doing it?
I think the problem is they look at Star Trek historically and go, Star Trek is loved by Star Trek fans, but we can't bring new people into the genre, so we need to change it to bring new people into the genre. But that never works because they've got the name Star Trek on there. It doesn't bring the new people in anyway.
Yeah.
But because you've now changed it, you're also alienating your Star Trek fans.
Yeah.
So it just doesn't work. They just need to cater to the Star Trek fans and actually have faith that Star Trek fans such as myself have now grown up, had kids, and will introduce the kids to it.
Yeah, I'm guessing you've not sat Addy down going, hey, let's watch Section 31. This is amazing. You're like, you know what? I'll just show you Star Trek Generations instead, or First Contact or something. We'll watch those.
Yeah, exactly.
But it's such a shame because it's like Star Trek used to be one of those shows, and by that I mean Deep Space Nine and Next Gen are my core Star Trek shows that I just absolutely adore, and I watch those at the right time. They kind of get your brain working. You're like, oh, actually, if I have a problem and if I do this and I do that, then this could work. And I've solved a problem in my real life. Section 31, no, I know how to be stereotypically Irish, and other than that, nothing. It doesn't get your brain going. It's not an intellectual show. And the other Star Treks used to be. I mean, the original Star Trek one, which I haven't seen all of, but they would talk to you about issues and, like, you know, covered racism and all that sort of stuff without ramming it down your throat. You go, I've just seen a really cool story about, oh my God, that's a bit like a racist. I thought the same thing about Wicked last night, which I was watching. I'm like, this is a very clever thing about racism, actually. She's green. Oh, look at her. She's green. She's different. I'm like, I kind of get what they're doing. So it gets your brain going. Section 31 gets your brain going back to original Star Trek and not wanting any more new stuff.
Well, that's the thing. Star Trek was always your TV show with the moral. You know, there was a moral of the story. It always went against what it was told it could do. So, like you said, you had racism issues. Well, that couldn't be broadcast on US TV, but Gene Roddenberry came along and said, you know what? What if we have two races fighting each other, both with half white, half black faces, but one side, the black side was the left, and the black side was the right.
Yeah,
it got past the censors. Yeah. They didn't see the deeper meaning, and with kind of Section 31, there is no deeper meaning. It's supposed to be action and, well, comedy, if you could call it that.
Yeah. It's like the comedy thing is just...
Yeah.
I mean, there were funny bits in Next Gen and Deep Space Nine and stuff, but there weren't... I would never class the full episodes as that is a comedy episode, because they still kept the tone of all the other episodes. I don't know what Section 30... I know it was terrible, Section 31, but it was... And it's such a shame, because I really miss new Star Trek that I've not seen that is good.
Well, I remember when Generations released at the cinema, we've discussed this on previous podcasts, where I went and saw that. It was something like 7 or 8 times at the cinema.
Yeah.
Even if Section 31 was out at the cinema, I would see it once.
Yeah.
There is no redeeming quality on there that says, come back and watch me again.
There isn't. And that's a shame. I saw Generations, I think, 2-3 times. I love Generations. I think it's probably my favorite Star Trek movie. And I rewatch all the other movies periodically. I have no... I think if Section 31 was coming back as a series, I don't know if I would go into it, to be fair. I might, because I think I'd mentioned to you the other day, some of the pilots of the other Star Trek series have been a little bit ropey compared to the once the season kicks in. But I don't think they've been Section 31 bad.
Yeah, I think I'd mentioned to you that, in Section 31 we have the character of Rachel Garrett being in there, which, to those who've watched The Next Generation, is the captain of the Enterprise C in yesterday's Enterprise. Now, the Rachel Garrett character, for me, in this movie, there was no point in it being there. It didn't forward the story of Rachel Garrett anyway. So it could have easily been, Josephine Blogs, and it was just as good. So the only way that makes sense is what you said to me, is it being some kind of long play with a TV series in mind. So again, to take a pilot and just say, you know what, we'll stick that out as a movie, it just shows that doesn't work, because there's so many issues like that. Why waste a good character when you're not actually adding anything to that character?
I kind of get the impression it was pretty late on when they decided movie, not series. So I don't think it was before they shot it. And watching Section 31, the movie, with that in mind, you go, okay, I get it. You're trying to set all these things up that are just never going to get answered. I don't think you're going to get another Section 31 movie. I think the response to this one has pretty much killed that. And then once again, the Star Trek people, air quotes, because they don't seem to know how to do Star Trek. Why don't they just phone you up and go, Rob, we've got a job for you? Is they're back to square one again, going, right, what do we now do?
Well, they come away from it and go, oh, the Star Trek franchise is bad. It doesn't make any money. No, it's
they're not good.
You're not targeting the right people with the right stuff.
Yeah. If you make good Star Trek, then people will watch it.
There's a reason that Star Trek fans still to this day are on forums going, when are we going to get DS9 on Blu-ray?
Is that still not out on Blu-ray yet?
No, they stopped with the Next Generation, and that's the thing, because Star Trek fans such as myself, you bought the VHS,
yep.
You then went on and got the DVDs,
yep.
Then when the Blu-rays came out, you got the Blu-rays,
yep.
4K came out, you got the 4K,
yep.
You spent an absolute fortune on this stuff, because they did it right, and now. If I had Section 31 on DVD and they said, you want to spend another £25 and get it on Blu-ray? Nah, it's all right, thanks.
And it's like, even though you're a completist, you're like, I don't really need that one. And I don't know what the budget was for Section 31. I can't imagine it was like crazy big, but I can't imagine it was tiny either. I don't understand how Paramount make money back on something like that. You're not going to sign up for Paramount just to watch that if you've seen reviews about how terrible it is. So streaming's got a lot to answer for.
It has, and actually, as a Star Trek fan as well, when it comes to movies, I know we've had the conversation about streaming releases and cinema releases, and I very much one for going, you know what, I prefer to stay at home and watch my stuff.
Yeah.
I think Star Trek is the exception, because it is quite nice being in a kind of auditorium full of Star Trek fans, like-minded people, who kind of think the same way as you, and have grown up with this franchise. So I actually feel that Star Trek straight to streaming isn't the right way forward for it either. Not that that we would have been impressed if we'd gone out to the cinema to watch Section 31.
No.
But I remember with the Deep Space Nine documentary, going to the cinema and seeing that. And even then, with a documentary, it was so nice watching it with a cinema full of Star Trek fans, because you laughed at the same bits, you cried at the same bits, there's just something special about that Star Trek family that Section 31 has moved away from.
I think the problem that they've got, the makers, is, yes, there's lots of Star Trek fans. There was also a lot of Firefly fans. And then when they did Serenity, everybody's like, all the Firefly fans were like, yay, finally we get a movie. There just wasn't enough of them to make up for the budget that they spent on Serenity. So Serenity underperformed, and whoever made it, Universal or whatever, went, eh. And maybe it's the same thing with Star Trek. Yes, there are a lot of Star Trek fans, but are there enough Star Trek fans to warrant a $200 million movie or $150 million movie that'll make money? Will a film made purely for Star Trek fans bring in non-Star Trek fans to make more cash? And maybe that's part of the problem. I don't know the answer to that, but
I think the argument against that is that we've seen fan-made Star Trek that has gone down with, much more fanfare and much more praise than, the Section 31 movie or Discovery, and had a small fraction of the budget that was spent by CBS and Paramount on these new shows and movies. So if if a Star Trek fan such as yourself could sit down and create one of these fan fiction series that has been kind of adopted by Star Trek fans and loved by many, then why aren't the people who actually own the franchise able to do it in an affordable way?
Yeah.
I think, even if you look at the original series in today's day and age, the original series is dated, because of the sets and how they did things. But I still think if they went and kind of did the second 5-year mission, which originally was written, and they were going to bring it out, and then for whatever reason it wasn't, back in the day, they brought that out now using, the same kind of low budget sets, it would get a better reaction than your Discoveries and your Section 31.
Well, Strange New Worlds, which is a show I've not finished yet, just because my trial of Paramount run out. But once I get Paramount back again, which I am pondering doing, because only a $5 to be fair, is going back and watching that. That was a really good series. That looked like the original Star Trek, but also looked like a Star Trek that was made nowadays. So they found the balance on that show pretty damn well. So if they could maybe do that as a movie. We don't need lens flares left, right, and center like the Star Trek movies and stuff, but maybe that's the way to go. But
yeah, I think again, Star Trek fans complain about how much Star Trek has moved away from what it was.
Yeah.
And if you watch Deep Space Nine, The Next Generation, Voyager, and even Enterprise, compared with your Discoveries and Strange New Worlds, the production value has changed dramatically, and the amount of money spent on sets and everything.
Yeah.
I don't think any Star Trek fan would complain though if they went back to a Deep Space Nine / Voyager style of set.
No.
And concentrated on good storylines and stuff like that. And the price to make that now must be considerably less than kind of your more bigger effect shows, just because they haven't got the amount of CG added to, like you say, the Kelvin timeline with the lens flares, and everything has to have a flashing light on it. And
I mean, all that stuff with the flashing lights and the fast editing, and that's all the stuff that they're putting in to try and bring in the non-Star Trek fans, isn't it? It's just like, make the budget smaller. They could use the same technology that they use on The Mandalorian, which is like the big warehouse with the video screens, the volume, as they call it, where you're not actually outside, but you kind of think you are, because you could put anything you want on there.
Yeah.
But it's just, it's really sad to see Star Trek in a mess with Section 31, and it was like, oh, I wanted it to be good, because I'd seen the internet bashing it, and I don't like being yet another person who's going, let's kill it. I'm glad we got it. I don't know. It's a quandary. Would I be happier if it didn't exist? I don't know. Maybe if they spent it on something else, the budget, then I would be happier. But it disappointed me that I went into something going, let's find redeemable stuff so that I can defend against all these crazy people that go, it sucks. And then I came out going, yeah, I kind of agree with them, which is a shame. Makes me sad.
I think the funny part is kind of coming out of Section 31. I thought the way I thought, and then the more I thought about the film that I'd just seen, And also, whilst reading other people's reviews, some very good comments came out that actually kept knocking it down as well. So, for example, I read a fantastic comment that said, "So the Godsend weapon now is able to quantify things based on quadrants because it can take out a quadrant."
Yep.
Well, yeah, a quadrant is just a quarter of the known
Space. Yeah.
yeah
Space. Yeah.
the we have decided to say, well, this is the alpha, this is the beta,
Yeah.
and well, how does the godsend know that? How does it know to stop it when it gets to the borders?
That's just
But
coordinates. So what does it replace it
yeah.
with? Just like nothing. There's nothing there anymore in space. It's kind of weird.
Well, I thought, and this is a slight spoiler from Discovery, but I did think that Section 31 was going to try and be really clever with the Godsend. Right at the end, I thought I can see where this is going, and then when Discovery jumps forward in time to the Federation that we have not yet seen,
Yep.
we see that there's been some cataclysmic event that has basically meant that warp drive isn't possible because the whole of space has been damaged. And I thought, they're going to tie this in. The Godsend is what did this.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought that would be quite clever. And they even missed that one.
Yep.
So
Crazy.
the redeemable features are far from there. However, if I'd have sat down and watched it as a movie, it didn't have the word Star Trek on it.
Yeah.
And it was a Saturday night. I wanted some sci-fi to watch. I stuck it on, and it was one of those no-think films. I would have come away going, that was okay.
I think non-Star. I mean, there's not much in it that says Star Trek anyway. I think they mentioned the eugenic wars, which is a reference that's been mentioned in Star Trek over the years. Obviously, you had a Vulcan in it, but there was no Federation uniforms in there.
No.
No Enterprises or anything like that. So it was very Star Trek light.
We had the Chameleoid, which we've seen in again. The
Discovery or
Star Trek, was it 3, 4?
Okay.
In the Klingon prison, we have the Chameleoid life form, but other than that, obviously we got the Vulcan who laughs. We got the Delta that we famously know Ilea from from
the motion picture.
Movie. Yeah, the motion picture.
Yeah. I'd rather go back and watch the motion picture twice than watch another 90 minutes of section. And I quite like the motion picture, to be fair. I know we've sort of had giggles about that over the few years, but that does sit in my top 200 movies of all time. There's that, and then Generations also sits in my top 200 movies of all time.
We did also have the Andorian in the obligatory sex scene.
Yes. Yeah, which is like, okay. But if I'd have watched Section 31 and it wasn't a Star Trek movie, I'd have come out of it going, well, that killed an hour and a half. Yeah. I would have thought that Irish alien annoyed me. I didn't like him. But that was, there was nothing Star Trek-y really about it. So what should they do next? That we've touched upon it. What are they doing next? Do we know? With anything Star Trek?
Well, Strange New Worlds, obviously that will be back for a new season.
Yep.
So we've got that to look forward to. And to be fair, they're doing a good job with that. I've enjoyed everything I've seen out of it so far. And then there are supposedly a number of other movies in various stages of production.
Yeah.
Whether or not they'll ever see a light of day, is yet to be seen. But otherwise, I think someone should just try it. Listen to me. Go back to the visuals we used to from DS9/Voyager. Do sci-fi fans like time travel, so base it on the USS Relativity that we saw in Voyager, that was going around trying to fix the mistakes made by time travel incursions.
Yeah.
They have the power to go anywhere and everywhere. We can see things that we know about. We can see things we didn't know about. There's so much scope for it as a show, and it allows us to see that futuristic tech. I don't know what the people behind Star Trek at the moment keep doing when they go, you know what, we'll do another prequel, or we'll go back in time and do something. That's not what sci-fi fans want. They want to see future tech.
Go forward. Yeah, exactly. That was why I sort of tapped out of Enterprise back in the day. I've seen, I think, all of season 1, and then I'm like, I'm good. I'll go watch something else, because it's like I didn't want to see the olden. I know enough about the olden Star Trek from references in Next Gen and DS9 and the movies. It's like kind of know where it all started. I know about First Contact, blah blah blah. Show me the future. Show me where technology's going, and they didn't. So I'm like, yeah, I'm out.
Well, no, because even with Enterprise, it started off with the Enterprise having missiles, because photon torpedoes weren't invented at that point. So again, they'd taken tech away from us. We didn't have tractor beams. We had grappling hooks. It was just, let's just take tech away from a show that people loved for tech, and obviously kind of where we're at now is we're still seeing kind of prequel shows where tech should be limited, but they're making it look flashy and actually more technological than we saw in the Next Gen, DS9 and Voyager. There definitely seems to be an identity crisis in Star Trek.
It does. And I would say they need to just take a break, reevaluate, and come back. But they've had enough breaks. They've still not managed to work it. How many years do you think before we get a Star Trek movie back in on the big screen? If at all.
That's tough. I think the question CBS and Paramount need to be asking themselves is, how quickly would it take Disney, if they bought the franchise, to turn out a show or a movie that Star Trek fans loved? And I don't think it'd be long, because Star Trek fans, unlike Star Wars fans, have been kind of starved of a good Star Trek show for so long, and we've kind of endured so much bad when it's come to the franchise, that something with even kind of half of what was seen in Next Gen, DS9 or Voyager would be kind of grasped with every hand going, and people would praise it and wish it many happy years going into the future.
And it does. I will never stop feeling sad about going into something thinking, I hope it's good, and then coming out going, do you know what? No, it is pretty bad. It's not usually the way I watch films or TV shows, but I think Section 31 was definitely, not great. I would say if people haven't seen it, then by all means go in and make your own mind up. You might think it's great. I hope you do, but
it's not going to cost you any money, because it's on Paramount Plus, and if you don't have Paramount Plus, there's a 7-day free trial anyway.
There is. So, and to be honest, Paramount Plus is a really good platform if you like your TV shows. You've got all Dexter, you've got all the Star Trek stuff on there. Yellow Jackets, Yellowstone, all the prequels to that show. So there's a ton of stuff on Paramount Plus, which is great for a fiver. So I would sort of check it. It'll take you 95 minutes to watch Section 31, and then you can then make your own mind up, which everybody should, to be fair.
And may I just add that it also makes that same mistake that Picard made in the first 2 seasons, where we don't even see like a nice big grand starship that we used to. We just see these kind of smallish, very very box shaped generic ships. And then the difference we got with season 3 of Picard, when we actually got a starship to work from, it was so nice to actually get on board something that felt familiar and real and authentic.
I need to finish Picard, so I never did watch season 3. I bailed partway through season 2 because I'm like, this is dreadful, I'm out. And I did. Because life's too short. It's like you're not really enjoying something, or there's no real end game in sight. Like Section 31, I knew it was terrible pretty fast, but I thought, you know what, it's 95 minutes, it's fine. I'll just sit and let it play out. If that was a long season or whatever, I'd be like, no, I'm done. So, which is what I did with Picard. But you said season 3 was better than previous. See, isn't it weird? It's like this is the writers again of Star Trek going, oh, final season, now we've worked it out. Well, no, either carry on or try and work it out before you start filming the first season would be nice.
Here's a question for you now.
Yeah.
Kind of looking at Section 31, the organization, and then this Section 31 movie. What do you think the character Sloane and also the character Julia Bashir would think of this Section 31?
Yeah, I think Sloane would quit. I think Sloane, because he was brilliant. He was Section 31. He was this mysterious character that would just pop up, or you'd hear them mentioned, and you're like, "Who's that guy?" He played it really well. He would be able to blend in a bar or a ship or something like that. I'd be pretty horrified. I think he'd be like a 70-year-old man now who looks at kids who are swearing and spitting all over the sidewalks and pavements going, no, this is not the world I recognize. I'm off. I'm out of it. I'm off to Switzerland. And he would just take themselves off. But I don't think he'd be too impressed.
No, when it comes to Julian, when he was trying to crack Section 31 and get to the bottom of things and capture Sloane and all that kind of stuff, if Julian Bashir was put up against this crew we saw in the movie, I think the episode would be done and dusted in 5 minutes.
I think it would. There's nothing secretive about any of that new cast that would fit into something like Section 31. Because you would catch them, like you said, in about 5 minutes flat. You just throw them out the nearest airlock or mess up the transporter beams or whatever it is.
You can just imagine now, and today on Federation News, some big secretive organization has busted through the walls of this bar on this planet. Who could they be? Who knows?
I think maybe without naming the person, I think maybe the person in charge of Section 31 has got an orange face and loves to never shut up. Could be him, and that would make sense. You know, one of his descendants actually is in charge of the new Section 31. You go, I get it now. Makes perfect sense.
Wait a minute. Didn't some tech billionaire just be given control of some kind of new department?
pretty much, yeah. But it's sad. I was hoping that we'd get a decent new Star Trek, and unfortunately, from my opinion, we didn't. So I will just continue hunting for decent things to watch. I've got a lot of Star Trek I've not seen, so I can go back and watch that.
But don't give up hope. There's always
I never. No, and I'm sure you don't either.
The original Star Trek that we love, taught us that.
Yeah, and that's all on Paramount. So I would rather go back and watch all those again. And I may well do, actually. So.
Just Paramount and CBS, don't be a Ferengi and just sell out for the last.
No, don't. No, not at all. But yeah, it's been nice to get you back on a podcast. This will go out in the audio feeds and obviously the YouTube channel. YouTube channel has now been somewhat monetized. I say somewhat because it means I can now do super chats and memberships, and people can chuck in tips, I believe. So that's
right, and
nice.
after my comment about Latinum.
Might be, yeah, I'll happily sell it. I don't care. I'll try and do what I do, but also make money. That would be nice. So yeah, it's going to go out on all the feeds. I'm going to find a nice new a picture or something. I might just do changing pictures, depending on what topic we're talking about. I might just overlay it to your rather blank avatar that just says RD. But what's it like?
Like I said, something with my charm and good looks. So we're talking along the lines of maybe a Ferengi or a Pakled, one of the two.
Okay, I'll try and find who's your favorite Ferengi.
Oh, it's got to be Quark.
Right, I'll find a nice picture of Quark, and I'll do it as if I could have made you do this as Grand Nagus Zek all the way all the way through that. That would have worked.
My good boy.
Or is it Rom? Oh no,
Rom.
I know.
Yeah.
Oh no. Do that one. What's it like being back on a podcast then after like 14 months? Or to be honest, it's just like a phone call for you, isn't it?
Yeah, it's exactly just like a normal phone call. I haven't been away in my mind. This is it's just nice actually seeing you while I'm talking to you.
I'm here, yes, in my new office thing, which is nice backdrop, but it's getting there slowly, but it's still a bit of work to do, but tis fine. Right, I'm going to let you go for now, Rob, but I will probably chat to you later anyway, because we tend to chat every day or two, so that is good. But I'm glad we managed to jump on and set our phases to talk about Section 31.
But were we stunned? Not really.
Yeah, I was stunned in a bad way, not stunned in a good way, which is just a shame. But yeah, you enjoy the rest of your afternoon on this very last day of January. Can't believe we're 1 month into the year already.
Thank you very much, and I hope you live long and prosper.
So do I. Prosper. Yeah. Throw some money into the YouTube channel, people. That would be nice. Prosper with Latinum. Right. Take care. Chat to you soon.
You too. Bye.
Bye.